welcome back again everyone. Today what we're going to do is have a look at the rear brake. Last time got the foot pegs on. They are quite low, you never know, I might need to move them at some point, but today it's the rear brake. Now last week I was doing a little bit of work which I didn't video because I had a load of gear in the garage. I couldn't get stirred in here. It's only a small garage, I haven't got room to swing a cat, so I've put a couple of brackets on here underneath which are sandwiching this little pivot in place, and I've made this as well. It's a steel bar drilled through, and also I had some brass bar which I've drilled through and I've inserted in there, so it's like a brass bush, and it's going to sit on a bolt like this. The final one will be a stainless steel one, so that fits through there, and that's my main pivot for the rear brake. I had an old pedal which I've been modifying a little bit, and that's going to weld onto this, and then onto the back of there I've got a little bit of bar here which I'm going to weld onto there. I've rounded it and chamfered it ready for welding, and I don't know if you can see on there, I've got a hoop round there, and I'm going to drill a 6mm hole in there. I've marked another one a little bit further along, just in case I haven't got the ratio correct. So I've got to cut. I'm going to cut around there, and then when I finally get it done, if it works okay, I'll cut the other one off and shape it. Now, I was having a look because I haven't got the original brake off this, and as far as I know this is off the master cylinder. That's off a Kawasaki Z750E, and I was trying to find a brake lever to have a look, and from what I can see, the ratio between the length from the end of the pedal to the pivot point, then from the pivot point to the hole for the master cylinder, it was a ratio of, I think it was 6:1. So this is 180mm, so the first hole is 30mm away. I can't really make it any closer because it'll foul up with the engine and everything, but I've made it longer. It's about another 12mm longer, the next one, just in case I don't get enough travel on this. If the pedal's moving too much, I can move it out to this hole and hopefully use that one if I need to. If it works alright with whichever one, I'll cut it off at that point and dress it up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drill these two holes, then cut this piece out for welding, and then we'll be able to weld everything together. So I'll just do that. Right, so I've got the bracket drilled, then cut the shape and ground off. Just a little tip which most people will know, that when you're drilling something like this, leave it on the whole bar first, drill it, and then cut the shape afterwards, and then at least you've got a nice bar, something to get hold of when you're drilling. Right, so bolt the little pivot into place. And then this brake pedal, I'll try and hold that and get it tacked into place, and then the bracket into place. Right, that's got it. So take that off and weld right on that first. So it's in a good position as well for the good position to get your foot to. So I'll weld it right the way around, and then we'll have a look at getting the lever on for the master cylinder. Right, so I've got that welded on right the way around, and I've tried to dress it in, smooth it off. Next thing, so I've put that on, I've got to weld on the bracket for the master cylinder, the lever should I say. So the pedal held there. So this is it here. Now I'm going to weld that onto there, onto that pivot. The master cylinder is going to sit underneath here. I'm going to put it at an angle so that it's hidden behind this bar a little bit, make it look a little bit neater, which means that this bracket has got to be, well, it hasn't got to be exactly at 90 degrees, it's got to be a little bit further so that when I press the brake it goes to 90 degrees and then pass the other way. So put this onto here and try and get a tack on it. Right, so there's a few tacks on. Let's have a look, so that one that's sitting up there. Yeah, that should be fine. It's true when you're doing something like this, I looked at it, I came up with about a dozen different ideas of how to fit this master cylinder into place. Right, so I've got a couple of tacks on there, I just need to weld it right the way around so it's nice and strong. The other thing I'm going to do is I've got a nice thick washer there. I'm going to weld that onto the back here somewhere so that I can use that as a point for attaching a return spring to keep the pedal lifted up. So I'll just go and give them two a weld, then we'll move on to the next stage. Right, I've got the brake pedal in place now, and I've attached a spring to the back of this bolt here, so I've got it so to return. So that's great. Next thing is looking at the master cylinder and how to fix it in place. Now what I've been doing, I've cut some pieces of cardboard, act as templates, and folded it to bolt onto the master cylinder while I held it in place. I've took one of those off to the boat, and I've made one out of steel, bent it over. So I drilled the end of this bar I had, rounded it off, drilled a hole in it, then I warmed it up and bent it over. I warmed it up because it's bright steel, cold rolled, and it tends to fracture a little bit if you try to put a 90-degree bend in it, tight one. So I just warmed it up. I used this, just a blowtorch I got off eBay. They're only about $6.50 or something. Ideal, I'd recommend them. Really convenient. You're not hunting about looking for matches because it's got the igniter on. You just, and away you go. As I say, the cheap out. The canisters for them as well, it's just butane. That one's out of Aldi. But you can pick them up, it's just the ones that plug in. You can pick them up dead easy, so if it's, you know, you go to a local store, Asda, Aldi, and even B&Q, like so that, dead easy to get the canisters, rather than some of the ones, I've got a bigger blowtorch where you screw the bottom in, but you've got to go somewhere like B&Q, and if you don't live near one, you know, it's a problem. So recommend them. Yeah, they're only cheap and cheerful, but they're ideal for a lot of little jobs. Right, so I got that bracket. So if I just bolt that onto there, ready to put into place. I've got another one cardboard template on the bottom one, but I'm going to wait till I get the top one in place before I do the bottom one. I've got to try and get it lined up now. And it's starting to come together, it's starting to take shape. Now the only trouble now is I need sort of 3 hands to hold this in place and try and weld it up. So I'm going to have a go at welding up along here, and then we'll look at the bottom one. Right, so that's top bracket on. So I'll have a look at this bottom one and see if I can sort this out so I can make, I'll sort the template out so that we can make a bracket from that. I'm cutting this at an angle and see how it goes. Because there's a nice bracket under here, the engine bracket, which I'll be able to weld this onto, and then we can get the nut and bolt through there. So just a taper it down an angle like that. So I'm going to cut that one and then see how it goes. Right, so I've just cut that bracket at a nice angle so it's going to fit nice and snug. Just try and bolt it into place, and then I'll get a weld on it. Right, that's it. So I'll try and get a weld on the back of it. Just a couple of spots to hold it in place. Right, that's it. So next thing is to make up the little linkage to go at the brake cylinder. Now then, I have a bar of steel here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Now I haven't got the original one, but from what I can gather, they're just like a U-piece, metal bent into a U-piece with a hole through it. I came across that in my garage, which is from I think it's off a little Pirelli RS50 or something, and it's made out of solid steel, threaded at one end. So rather than bend some bar and put a nut on the inside or something, what I was thinking of doing was just using this round piece of bar, drill it in the centre on my lathe, thread it out, and then drill a hole through it and cut a groove into it, so that'll be the fork to go either side of the lever. Thread it at the top on the little shaft that sticks out here. It's got a lock nut, so I'll be able to adjust the height, lock it into place, and then drill a hole through the side here for the pin to go through to go onto the bottom of the lever there. I think what I'll do, I've coated this with masking tape. I'm going to cut off by this line here. It's going to go in that way. So where that mark is, I'm going to drill a hole in there, 6mm hole right the way through, and that'll be for the pin to go into. And then at 90 degrees to that, so about there, I'm going to drill a hole here for where the slot's going into. So that one probably is about 6.5 or 7mm, and then I'll cut it down there and down there. So I'm going to remove that, so I've then got my slot to put into the where the lever goes. So I'll go in there, pin through there, and I'll maybe just round this off a little bit at the bottom. Then once I've done that, I'll cut that off, face it off on the lathe, drill a hole until I just come to this, so I'm just breaking through there, and then thread that. Right, so I've just been, and so that's the hole in the end for the pin, and that's the hole through there, and I'm going to be cutting down 2 slots to remove the centre there. So I'll just go and do that cutting, be right back. Right, so I've drilled a hole through and cut the slots in. It's a bit tight at the minute though, I can't get it on the brake lever on this part, so I'm going to just use the angle grinder and try to widen that out until it fits. So there's a little bit to go, I don't know if you can see, but there's where the drill is, it can still go a little bit either way towards that. So I'm going to open that out. Pivot now, right? Just try and round these off now, make it look a little bit neater. Right, I'll try to dress that up a little bit more with a file, make it nice and round, and then I'm going to go on the lathe. I need to cut it around about here, so I'll try parting it off on the lathe. Then I need to drill through it and thread the inside of this, and I may even take it down a little bit, step it down a little bit, make it thinner at that end. Right, so we'll go across to the lathe and get that done. Right, so I've got the work held in the chuck there. I'm going to use the parting tool just to part off, take off the excess which we don't need. So I'm just going to turn the lathe off and manually thread this in, but using the lathe to hold the tap central. So again, I've got a tap, and on the back of there it's got the little countersink in, so that's going to fit into the tailstock. And it's really just to get it started for a few threads, so that and then once you get a few threads in, it'll hold it straight. Move that so that's resting on top of there, so I don't have to hold that. Right, I think that's enough of the thread on there. I can finish it off on in the vise, just take it a little bit further. What I'm going to do now is try to turn this outer edge down a little bit and create a bit of a chamfer on it as well. I'll turn this compound slide at an angle, about 30 degrees there. I'll give that a try and see how it goes. Now, as I've been cutting there, I haven't been cutting right along to the same point each time. Each cut, I've finished it a little bit further this way and this way, so now it goes along and it's like a staircase going up. And then what I'm going to do is try with a compound slide and just see if I can take the tops off them to make it a slope. Oh, well, not bad. You can see it's tapered now, threaded in the end. So I'll just finish off the threading there, take it in a little bit and a little bit along this groove, and then I'll try and find, I think I'll just put a nut and bolt through there for now just to get it working. But I'll try and find a pin, or if I haven't got a pin, I'll make a pin which I can pop through and then a hole in for a split pin to go through. Right, I've just given this a quick brush over on the wire wheel and it's turned out quite nice. So I'll thread it on the bottom of the piston rod for the master cylinder. I've already put the brake lever back in place. I've got a nut and bolt through there in place of the pin for now. I'll put a nylock nut on the back just for now, so that if I do take it out for a ride, hopefully it doesn't fall off. Now I've been doing a few other things. I put the exhaust pipes on again just so that I could have a look, because I've mounted the little reservoir. So the next thing I'm going to fill that up and try and bleed the system, see if I can get the back brake working okay. If I bring it in so you can have a look. Let's see there, and it looks quite nice there. I'll just lock it up now. I'll just knit that up just to. So it's working quite well. Let's see, the next thing I'll have to go at the back here and we'll try bleeding it off. So that's the little reservoir. Just taken off eBay, but it says made in Italy. It's a Rizoma, I think it's the name on the top of it. But it fits in there quite nice, that little space. Right, so I'll give a go at bleeding this brake. As I say, it seems to have plenty of pressure there now, and the way that's gone, I'm quite pleased with it all. It's quite tidy. I've been able to tuck it away underneath. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see you again next time.